to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, soon to be joined here potentially by Rob here. He's dealing with traffic again. What is it with y'all in Jersey about this traffic lately? You got people on strike with the trains. You got planes losing abilities to even track who's where and everything. You got sinkholes opening up in the parkway. God damn, what the hell's going on in Jersey? Woo. I used to talk about Jersey as like, damn, I wish like Florida had this kind of transportation system and all. And geesh, woo, it's like everything's falling apart at the seams here, guys. But yeah, today we're gonna have the episode going over the NFC East offensive rankings here, going over with you guys exactly as far as how the Giants might have improved against the rest of the NFC East. Keep in mind, guys, every single year. The math ain't difficult to figure out. We play each team twice a year. It's 6 games a year. It's a decent chunk of our schedule. Even with the 17-game schedule now, it's a little more than a third of our schedule there against the NFC East rivals there. So, listen, sometimes your season is decided point blank in how you are against the NFC East. And, obviously we've had some issues in the past. Let's be honest here. The Cowboys have had our numbers for some years. The Eagles have had our number for some years as well, except the occasional random win, like we beat the hell out of them to end the season there in 23. The Commanders, that's one team we could say we've been pretty decent against. Even this year, we sucked so horribly. We played the Commanders pretty damn close. I mean, a team that was literally in the NFC Championship Series, we played them pretty close. I said it before, I'll say it again, we played them early. I think that definitely was part of the equation there. So, like I said, we're going to go over all that with you guys. Now, before we get started too much here, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a programming note here. From time to time, we give you guys kind of behind the scenes, things that are going on, things that are, in the content creator world here, so to speak there. Last couple months, we tried something a little new. We've had a lot of videos, and we do a lot of video clips on the YouTube platform there, and the YouTube platform has been very kind to us. We decided to try the same thing over in Facebook and Instagram. So if you've noticed, if those of you go on Instagram, Facebook, there's been a lot of video clips that we put up that we usually just put up on YouTube, and lately we've been putting them up onto Facebook, Instagram as well. Well, let me put it this way. Facebook is on our not so nice list. I'll put it that way. Them, Meta, Instagram, the whole entire Meta world there. So, I don't like to gripe too much as far as how much content creators make. I'll be very frank with you guys. No one's getting rich pretty much in the Giants content creator world, except for maybe a couple people. I don't want to say rich, but they're at least making a decent chunk of change. They're making enough to make a living. Most of us do this point blank because we enjoy doing it. And, we happen to make a little money in the process. Fine, great. No harm, no foul. We're not upset about that, obviously. Well, we get a few $100 usually a month off of YouTube there. Nothing crazy. Facebook, the last month, we did about 80% of the views on Facebook that we do on YouTube there. They only paid us $1 for our views. $1. Not $1 and change, not $100, $1. So, yeah, with that, we're not going to keep doing clips on Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. We're not going to keep helping make Mark Zuckerberg money when he's not sharing like he obviously can, since YouTube is doing it. So we're going to go flat forward and just say from now on, we're going to recommend, if you guys want to support the show, watch on YouTube. That is definitely, we're going to call it point blank, the preferred platform for watching, listening to the Two Giant Goofball show. That also goes for X, by the way. That never gives you legit statistics, and their analytics are all messed up, and their little stingy as well. So, like I said, we will be recommending definitely YouTube for the viewing experience there. So, all right, I'm going to get off my soapbox here because, like I said, we're here to talk Giants football. Like I said, I'll always give you guys kind of the, the ins and outs of things that do go a little bit behind the scenes like that, but I don't want to harp on it and be like that. I've listened to shows before people do that. I'm like, okay, guys, come on, damn show already. So, we're gonna get right into it, guys. So again, we're gonna give you guys the NFC East offensive groups rankings here today. Like I said, again, Rob should be hopefully here with us shortly. He's been stuck in traffic of all the issues going on in Jersey between all the fun transportation issues there. So we're gonna get right into the quarterbacks here, and obviously this is a group that, quite frankly, is good. There's gonna be people that have some pretty strong opinions on it, and you got a lot of big names here, obviously, as well. So let me first tell you how we do the scoring system in this whole thing, how we're coming to who has the best in each group. So what we did is we ranked the quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks 1 through 4. We did the backups 1 through 4. You get 4 points for first place, 3 for second, 2 and 1. Twice the amount of points for starters as for backups. That way, who your starter is matters a lot more than who your backups are. So I'm going to give you guys worst to best. Worst, and I hate to say it, guys. I really do. It's the New York Giants. Russell Wilson, obviously the presumptive starter, barring any kind of crazy situation here, but I'd be shocked if he's not. 11 games last year, 73.7 completion percentage, 2,482 yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a 95.6 QB rating, 43 rushes for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. Listen, guys, I think if you look at what's going on here with Russell Wilson, again, massive upgrade for what we had at Daniel Jones. Massive upgrade. Still not a great quarterback, though, guys. Let's be very frank. He's going on his third team now in 3 years. He's, 4 or 5 years removed from being considered an elite quarterback. His days over in Seattle. But again, he's a competent quarterback. So it's like he gets last place, but I feel like in a lot of divisions, he would not be considered the worst quarterback in that division. If you just run up and down the divisions, there's plenty of divisions that you'd be like, okay, he's not last. He's not first. Maybe second to last, but there's a lot of divisions like that. So again, I think a definite improvement, but I think he definitely qualifies as the 4th best starting quarterback in this division here. 3rd best, Dak Prescott. So listen, guys, I look at an off year for him. 8 games last year, 64.7 completion percentage, 1,978 yards, 11 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and an 86 QB rating, 13 rushes or 54 yards and a touchdown. Look, I do think that Dak Prescott's not a horrible quarterback. I think he's overrated by a lot of Cowboys fans because of the postseason issues. You got to include that as part of it there. But let's be honest. Most teams would take a Dak Prescott style quarterback. I hate to say, positive things about a Cowboy here, but it's the truth. I'm trying to be impartial here, trying to give you guys it like it is. If he was to be a free agent right now, every single team that needed a quarterback this offseason would have been going, okay, what would it take to get Dak Prescott? Giants included. And that's just the nature of the beast and what he is there. Again, big time choker in the playoffs. Has not at all performed well. But in the regular season, he's been definitely an above average, not elite, but above average quarterback for most of his career there. Now, leaves us with the 2 big names here. As far as the quarterbacks here, Jayden Daniels in Washington, Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, and I think this one's going to get us a lot of hate. To be honest, by certain groups. Let's be honest here. There's people that just love the guy that's going to be number 2 here, and think he walks on water as the greatest thing since sliced bread. Said it before, I'll say it again. What I think personally is that he benefits from a lot of the help he has in this roster. Got a great offensive line, got 2 great receivers, got the best running back in all of football now, got a very good tight end, got a great defense that helps him out as well. And that's Jalen Hurts. He is listed as number 2, 68.7 completion percentage, 2,903 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a 103.7 QB rating, 150 rushes, 630 yards, and 14 touchdowns rushing the ball. Crazy. He almost has as many rushing touchdowns as throwing touchdowns. That's passing touchdowns. That's just insanity. Listen, again, I don't mean it. I don't say it to hate Jalen Hurts. I'll tell you guys again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. You know, I got to see him in person at the Pro Bowl a couple of years ago when I went in Orlando. He spent a lot of time with the kids and all. By all accounts, he's a very nice guy. I'm not anti-Hurts as a person. I'm anti him as a player right now because he's an Eagle, but I'm trying to look at this from a neutral perspective. You put most teams on that quarterback, and that's what I've said all along. Like, people go, "Oh, he's elite." If you put an elite quarterback, a guy that we all hands down would say is elite right now, if we put a guy who's elite on that team, do they get better? Would the Eagles be better with Joe Burrow? Yes. Would the Eagles be better with Patrick Mahomes? Yes. Would they be better with Lamar Jackson? Debatable. But I'm also not as huge as Lamar Jackson kind of guy. Would they be better with Justin Herbert? It's possible. You know, I mean, there's a lot of, you put in a lot of the top end quarterbacks, and you could sit there and say the Eagles could be a better team with them. Now, again, I'm not saying Hurts is trash. We got him here ranking second, guys. He is a guy that somehow pulls out wins. You know, he's a guy that, let's be honest, when he started really stinking it up there at the second half of 23, you saw how bad that team started falling apart. So I'm not trying to say it's all the team around him either. But you can't tell me, seriously, that having the best offensive line in football, the best wide receiver duo in football, the best running back in football, and a damn good tight end isn't helping him tremendously. What I need to feel like Jalen Hurts is a elite quarterback is I need to see him in a scenario without that and see what he does. Now, at one point in his career, we'll probably see it. That's just life. You know, the offensive line, they've already had to change some people out there as they've gotten older. You know, A.J. Brown, let's be honest. I know some people love him, some people hate him, but he's a little bit of a headache at times. It's, you know, well, what point he wears welcome out there. Then you go into, you know, a team potentially with, you know, Jalen Hurts without some of that stuff. And obviously, you know, Saquon, a couple of years will probably not be Saquon anymore. At that point will we see Jalen Hurts have to do it without all that help? You know, I just would like to see what would happen there before I can crown him being elite, because let's be honest, the numbers aren't elite. And there are plenty of people that are elite on that team. Again, all the people we've listed pretty much, they're elite players. 2,000-yard rusher, consistent 1,000-yard receiver. You know, a line that grades out tremendous. I mean, this is all there. So Jalen Hurts, again, he's not crap. I'm not trying to say that, guys. I feel like Eagles fans especially get so upset. But I do think we got to look at it and go, would he be Hurts without all the help? And I just don't think I can say that without a shadow of a doubt. So I'm going to put him number 2. That leaves, of course, number 1, Jayden Daniels. And it's kind of crazy to put a guy who is coming off his rookie season as the best quarterback in this division. But guys, look what he did last year. 69% completion percentage. He had 25 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He had a 100.1 QB rating. Had 148 rushes for 891 yards, 6 touchdowns. I mean, guys, this is one of the best rookie quarterback seasons you'll ever see. And it's overshadowed because we've seen some crazy, you know, stuff over the last couple of years by rookies in general. Jayden Daniels, what he did is not even short of amazing with that team. Like, really, tell me on offense what they added besides him. They still had Scary Terry, a wide receiver, and Brian Robinson Jr. They didn't have the guys they've added this offseason, so obviously. They really didn't have much. Austin Eckler, was that the big addition? He made this a good team. And again, we'll have to see. And that's what makes me a little nervous. Like, does the NFL as a whole try to figure out what he was doing, and do they kind of this offseason hone in on what he did and slow him down a little bit? That's a possibility. And Jalen Hurts might even leapfrog him if that happens, obviously. But just based on what they did last year specifically, Jayden Daniels, point blank, was nothing short of amazing. And I'm not too ashamed as a Giants fan to say point blank that I'm jealous. I wish we could have drafted him last year. I was a huge proponent of him. Rob was a huge proponent of him. We really liked the way he played. And unfortunately, we just didn't have the chance to get him. Washington was going to trade him to us, obviously. That would never happen without giving up 5 years. So, like I said, I think that he is right now the best quarterback in the NFC East, and I think honestly, it's not even like a extremely close race. Is it a conversation? Yes, but it's really hard to come out with reasons to say that Jayden Daniels is not the better of the two between him and Hurts. So we got number 1, Jayden Daniels, number 2, Jalen Hurts, number 3, Dak Prescott, number 4, Russell Wilson. Now the backups is a totally different tale here. There's a lot of change in this. Number 4 is the Cowboys, guys. They have Joe Milton, who they traded with the Patriots to get this offseason. And they have Will Grier. That's it. Guys, if Dak Prescott goes down again, whoa, that is not a pretty duo. I know some people are very high in Joe Milton, what he did against second stringers in Buffalo. I'm not that impressed. So I do think that they have probably the worst backup quarterbacks in the NFC East. Then we got the third place is the Eagles. Eagles have Tanner McGee, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Kyle McCord. Now, Kyle McCord, obviously being a rookie, is a little bit of a wild card. But I really think that you look at what they have there on that squad as backup quarterbacks, and there's not a single one that I go, okay, well, if Jalen Hurts goes down, this guy can go in and be a good quarterback. So I don't know. I don't see it. Now, again, they have all the tools around them, like we mentioned with Jalen Hurts there. So is it possible one of them could succeed and at least be adequate? Yeah, because of what they got on that roster. I just don't see it. I don't see the talent there. The second one, the Washington Commanders. Marcus Mariota is still on that roster as a backup. He's a legit backup quarterback. He's got a lot of experience. He's the guy that maybe not win you a lot of games, but he won't lose you games, and he'll keep you in it. Along with that, they have Josh Johnson, the guy who has really played for, I think, 40 different teams now, before all these different leagues and all he's been in, and Sam Hartman, the quarterback from Notre Dame. Yeah, guys, that's a decent backup quarterback room. Not too shabby at all. I mean, that's experience, that's youth, that's what you kind of want when you're looking at a backup quarterback group there. But number 1 does go to the Giants. The Giants do win this one. Because listen, it's weird to say number 1 for the Giants on a quarterback ranking here. But listen, Jameis Winston is probably the best backup quarterback in this entire group. Now, you can make the claim about Marcus Mariota potentially, and I'll give people that there's a conversation to be had there. But I think amongst the two, I think Jameis Winston is the best, the better of those two there. And I think it's somewhat close, but I do think Winston is definitely the winner. You got Jackson Dart, obviously, you got a first-round quarterback in there, plus Tommy DeVito. Now, Tommy DeVito is easily better than a Sam Hartman. He's easily, better than a Kyle McCord, you can say now, because he's got some NFL experience. Now, McCord could easily beat him out there within a couple of games on that, obviously. But as of right now, you at least know he's the guy you can put out there. And he won't lose the game necessarily. He won't win it. DeVito didn't do much of the times he was out there. I'm not a huge, DeVito fan, but as a fourth quarterback on a roster, you can do a hell of a lot worse, that's for sure. So we are giving the Giants the win on this one here. So you tally it up again. You get 4 points for first place, 3 for second, 2 for third, fourth for one, double the points for starters. That gives you, the totals are the Commanders, 11 points. The Eagles get 8 points. And the Giants and the Cowboys both tie at 5 points apiece there, guys. So we're tied for third at quarterback, I guess. That's a decent improvement of what we did last year. So let's get into the running backs here. And, of course, the conversation is definitely going to involve Saquon Barkley, unfortunately. But we're done talking about him in the show, but we're back to him here. So starter-wise, by far the worst starter, at least listed on the depth chart. I'm going to say it this way. We're using the depth chart of ESPN for right now. Things can obviously change on rosters between now and starting, and none of those rosters are official. It's too early for the teams to give an official one. But Javonte Williams is considered the starter on the running back room there for the Cowboys right now. Last year, 139 rushes, 513 yards for 3.7 yards per carry average, 4 touchdowns, 52 catches, 346 yards, 859 total yards overall. Not very good, guys. Let's be honest. It's kind of crazy that they lost Rico Dowdle, that we said was not a very good running back, and everybody pretty much said that across the NFL landscape there. And somehow they've gone down. They got a couple of rookies. We'll get into those in a little bit there, and obviously they're hoping for some big things out of them. But yeah, that's it's not even a close race. Like, it's the obvious fourth place here. Number 3 for the Commanders, Brian Robinson Jr. in 14 games, 187 rushes, 799 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns, 20 catches, 159 yards, and 958 total yards there. Now, listen, Brian Robinson Jr. is what Brian Robinson Jr. is. And I don't even mean that as a negative thing. I like him, actually. What he is he is a guy who just keeps on hitting the hole over and over and over again. He's the consistent guy who's going to get you 4 yards carry. He's never going to break it for 50 yards or 60 yards or anything crazy, really, except when they played the Giants last year because their own defense was that crappy. But that's what he is. He just keeps on going forward. He moves the chains. That's what he is. He's an old-fashioned running back, and there's still definitely room for that in this league. Number 2, Tyrone Tracy Jr. And it's nice that the Giants get at least somewhat close to the top here. 192 rushes last year for 839 yards, 4.4 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, 38 catches, 284 yards, and 1 touchdown. It's 1,123 yards there overall. So, again, great rookie year by Tyrone Tracy Jr. I think he is clearly better than the 2 we talked about previously, though slight closeness to Brian Robinson Jr., but I think the catching abilities would really set him apart there between those 2. So, yeah, I do think that he's got a little potential to even lose a spot here with Cam Scatterbo, depending on how things go. I think week to week even might change who is the running back there. That's considered the starter, the bell cow, so to speak there. But for right now, because he's got the 1 year of experience, you got the ability now to go ahead and have a young running back in here now who's shown you a lot that rookie year. Hopefully the line is healthier, because keep in mind he dealt with a lot of banged up issues on that line. And he's got the potential to do something special there. He really does. I think he's going to be a decent running back for the Giants for a lot of years. I don't think he'll ever be the Pro Bowl caliber or the guy that we're going to talk about in a minute here, but I think he's a guy that is that above average running back that can have a decent, nice, long career there. That, of course, leads us to the last one here. Saquon Barkley, obviously, clearly the number 1 receiver, number 1 running back in this division here. 16 games last year at 345 yards, 2,005 yards, 5.8 yards per carry, 13 touchdowns, 33 catches for 278 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's 2,283 total yards on the season, guys. Amazing year. Like we can't even say otherwise. Point blank, amazing year. As much as Giant fans, some of them hate to give some props to Saquon. Again, we've said it before. He had no contract offer from the Giants. Stop hating. But again, you look at what happens. This is what we talked about before with Jalen Hurts. Look what happens when you put talent around players. It elevates them. We were talking just, a year ago about how Saquon's losing a step and Saquon's not as good because we saw with the Giants. Well, now you put him with a great offensive line. You put him with an actual passing game so people aren't just stacking the box against him nonstop. And look what happened. Amazing season. Like, absolutely amazing season there. Congrats to Saquon on that. He is clearly, again, the top running back on the NFC East there. Now, if you go to the backups, and again, there's some rookies here in this group, and that's part of the equation. It's hard to try to figure out what you're going to say to some of these guys here. But number 4 is going to be the Dallas Cowboys again. You got Miles Sanders, who hasn't done anything since he left Eagles. You got Jayden Blue and Phil Maffa, the rookies, and that's it, guys. There's nobody that I can sit there and go, okay, this guy has potential to be really good in this league. Those 2 rookies, again, we weren't necessarily that high on those 2 to begin with, but they're late, round picks. You can't count on them. Now, could they be good? Listen, every single year there's a guy who's a late round running back that all of a sudden, goes a little crazy and ends up doing something special. That's always a possibility. But you can't count on it. And that's what the Cowboys seem to be doing here. They seem to be counting on one of these running backs just taking off and being really good. Miles Sanders, again, hasn't done jack since he's left the Eagles there. So I can't trust on him really to do anything. Is he a competent backup? I mean, he's backup with some NFL experience. It's not the worst thing in the world there. But I can't sit there and say that he is the same Miles Sanders he was a couple of years ago. Again, what I said, product of the Eagles offense. This is what 100% Miles Sanders was. He left that system. He left that offensive line and everything they got there and became crap. Commanders with 3rd place. Now, this was a close one with them in the 2nd place here. Austin Eckler, obviously, the consummate veteran. Perfect complement to Brian Robinson Jr. because of what he is. He's a perfect 3rd down back. He's a little bit more of a speedy guy there. Good pass protector as well. Again, a nice 1-2 with there. I do question, what's left in the tank there to a certain degree with him there. He's had the injury issues, obviously. He's on the wrong side of 30 now. He's officially, turned 30 years old now this season. So, I'm not sure how much is left there, but at least for this season, he should be a good compliment still to Robinson as he was last year. Then they got Jeremy McNichols and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who is the rookie running back that, again, late round pick, nothing you can really count on for anything crazy, but he's an intriguing pick. Like, if I had to pick between him, Jayden Blue, and Phil Maffa, I would take Ja'Cory because I think there's a lot more potential there. And again, that's the key word, potential. I'm not going to sit there and say he's going to be great there. I'm not going to say that he's going to be even on a roster. He's probably boom or bust, but at least there's a boom potential at that point. That's the fun thing about a boom or bust. There's a potential. So 2nd place, we got the Eagles there. Will Shipley, A.J. Dillon, Avery Williams. This is a good, solid backup group of running backs here. Some NFL experience, obviously, with A.J. Dillon, who's had a nice long career. Will Shipley is a guy that we liked coming out of college there. So, didn't get a lot of chance to do much. He only had 30 carries last year with the Eagles, but I still think he's a better player than what he's able to show there. And, part of that is what happened with with the Giants and Barkley. Barkley is a guy who gets a lot of carries. You don't tend to get a lot of carries to back up with Barkley in the backfield. Now, if Barkley gets injured, which, not even a wishing injury on him per se, it's so hard. Like, I want to root against him because he's an Eagle. I also don't want to hate on him because he is an ex-Giant, and I don't blame him for leaving. But what it boils down to is Saquon has an injury history. if he goes down, can one of these guys do something here? Will Shipley is the guy. If I had to pick out of these three, Will Shipley is the guy that I would say actually has the potential to not, I want to say, take on Saquon's job fully, because I don't think any of these guys can do that. Be very clear. I don't think anybody in the entire NFC East could take on that kind of job if they had to. But I do think he can be adequate for a couple of games. And that's more than I can say for guys like Miles Sanders, even Austin Eckler, who I don't think could be a workhorse back right now if he got called on to do it. I think he's just too far up there. That leaves number one. The Giants again winning for backups. It's like we got some depth here, and it's hard to say who's going to be the third name on here, but the first two are obvious. You got Cam Scatterbo, and you got Devin Singletary, Motor here. Now, again, I know Motor's a guy that there's some rumors that he might get cut. I don't think he's getting cut. The contract says otherwise. But I do think that Devin Singletary, if you had to look at this list, and if he's probably better than every single other running back on this backup running back. Obviously not better than the starters, but he's probably better than every single backup running back on this list. And I don't even think he's the top backup. I think Cam Scatterbo's going to be. He's got some potential to make it a 50-50 split there, like I said. I think no matter who is the third, whether it's Tyrone Tracy, whoever at that point is the third running back, I think the Giants clearly have the best backup running backs in this division. Now, I'm not even including Eric Gray, by the way. He needs to be gone. He needs to be gone. Needs to be cut after the camp's done at that point, barring any injuries. But like I said, I got Giants number one for that. So that puts us for the scores, Eagles get 11. They win again. Giants get 10. So we got second place. Commanders 6, and the Cowboys bringing up the rear at 3. So this is easily the worst position group on offense for any NFC East group. I feel like is this the running back group of the Cowboys. Absolutely pathetic. All right, we're gonna get to the wide receivers here in just a moment. We're gonna go ahead and pay the bills. Now, before we do, real quick, because I do see that there was a couple mentions here from Jay, who already saw that we did create memberships here for YouTube. So YouTube keeps pestering me to create that because they like people to do that stuff. So we went ahead and did some of that. So that's going to be shown here on the new graphic video, whatever the hell you want to call it here, for the different options and ways you guys can go ahead and support there. But since it's a new thing, I'll go ahead and at least give you guys real quick what it is. So there's going to be 2 different levels. A supporter level, which is at just $1.99 per month. That gets you a loyalty badge. It gets you custom emojis, which, as Jay pointed out in the comments section there, you can do emojis of our logo. You can do one of me, one of Rob as well. And with that, then you also, if we end up doing any kind of member-only live chats, you'd have access to that as well. Again, I'm not going to promote that as something we're going to do like crazy. We've done some of those in the past. We may do those again, but that'll give you automatically that ability. I'm sorry, the live member-only live chats, I should say. I'm sorry. That's what the option is for that. Then we have the $3.99 option, which is, we call it the full-on goofball. That'll get you early access to all the video clips we put up. So the ones that you see, that you see us put up there all over YouTube there. The one Jay always jokes around about spamming, because we do a few a day there. Like I said, that's going to be there as part of the full-on goofball package for $3.99 there. Where the second we post it, you got it. You don't have to wait for it actually to be premiering at everybody. The second it's up there and YouTube has it and it's okayed, then you get access to it. You also get member shout-outs. You also get members on the live streams there. Again, if we start doing that, we haven't done those yet. So I don't want to put that as something we're going to do like crazy. And plus, you still get the loyalty badges and emojis and all as well. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead. Like I said, this is a new graphic we have for all the different ways now that you guys can support the show there.
Thanks for watching. Like the show? Of course you do, or you would have turned it off by now and not be hearing me. There are plenty of ways to support the show. YouTube is the best place to join us, and we offer memberships there with fun benefits like custom emojis and early access to video clips. Of course, there you can also send super chats and stickers to send one-time support payments. The best way to support the show is to buy these drunk idiots beers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Along with one-time support payments, there are also monthly plans, so you can continue to help kill their livers each month. You can also show people that you are a goofball by visiting our store at 2giantgoofballs-shop.fourthwall.com. We got everything from shirts, hats, phone cases, funny candles, buttons, stickers, and even a 2Giant Goofballs towel to dry off your goofballs. Of course, you can always support the show for free by simply hitting the like, subscribe, and share button wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the show tremendously, and quite frankly, the Goofballs suck at marketing and need your help to get the word out. Thank you for being part of the Goofball Army and for taking the time out to support the show.
All righty, guys. And it's I see Jay already a new member there, so thank you very much, Jay, for joining. And unfortunately, it won't let me put up the Rob emoji that you have on there. It just comes up as Rob. I do see I pulled it up while I was playing there. I went ahead and pulled it up on my my phone here so I can see the make sure that it all worked correctly there, and I see it there. Appreciate again you joining it up there, man. And again, appreciate everybody else that supports the show. Again, we wouldn't be where we're at without y'all. So let's get into the wide receivers here on the NFC East here. And that's a really good group, guys. Again, this is a group that's like a who's who of wide receivers, basically, the NFC. It's kind of crazy how there's just a lot of really great running backs here in the NFC. Great wide receivers in the NFC East specifically there. So way we broke this down was starters overall. So we did 3 receivers for that because let's be honest, a lot of teams are in a 3 receiver set there. So we did top 3 receivers as starters, and then the backups, we did the next 3 receivers as well. Because there's some teams that literally have like 10, 12 receivers on their roster right now because of the fact they're so expanded. So try to make it a little more realistic to look at there. So number 4, the Commanders. Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry starts us off there, obviously. 82 catches, 1,096 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 2 rushes for 2 yards there. Listen, Scary Terry is what Scary Terry is. He's a consistent 1,000-yard receiver. He is just a beast like that. But he never really has those crazy 1,500 kind of yard seasons. He's just a consistent guy. Almost like, I feel like he's, to a certain degree, I don't want to say the Wish version or the Temu version, but he's almost like a Mike Evans. Like if you look at Mike Evans' stats, Mike Evans gets consistently around 1,000 to 1,100 yards every single season, and has pretty much for his entire career. He's had a couple of years above the 1,100, but nothing too crazy if I'm correct. And somebody can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the chat there, because I don't have his stats up in front of me there. But Terry McLaurin, 900 yards his rookie season. Since then, he's done just that. 1,000 to 1,100 yards a season, year in, year out, regardless of who the quarterback is, regardless of who the offensive coordinator is, head coach, all the different changes he's seen in his time there. So, consistent guy that I got a lot of respect for, great player, and I think underrated in the NFL as well. Then with him now, newly added is Deebo Samuel, the former 49er. 15 games last year, 51 catches, 670 yards, 3 touchdowns, 42 rushes for 136 yards and 1 touchdown. To be honest, guys, I've always thought Deebo Samuel is a little bit overrated. I think he's a guy that you need to be able to scheme specifically for. I think you got to have the right person to go with him, offensive mind-wise. But if you look, he had that great year back in 2021. Since then, he hasn't even hit 900 yards the last 3 seasons. He's battled some injuries, obviously. Obviously ignore pretty much everything, that you saw the years before because he had some injuries as well. But he had that one great year of 1,400 yards, and he's been living off that ever since. He's kind of like Doc Rivers in the NBA. He's been living off that Celtics championship for how many years? I just feel like they are not upset. And actually, it's funny as I'm saying that. There's Jay with that. Says he lies in 49er country. The hardcore 49er fans are happy to see him go. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like he outwore his welcome there. I don't think he's that great. I think he's still living off that year. But again, as a second receiver, he's not bad. He's just not going to be elite like I think some people still think he is. Third one for them is Noah Brown. 11 games last year, 35 catches, 453 yards, and 1 touchdown. So not a bad player, but I wouldn't say he's one of the better third receivers in the NFL overall. Number 3 is going to be the Giants, team that I feel like we've been really trying to build up this offense overall, but especially the wide receiver position. Obviously, it all starts with Malik Neighbors. 15 games last year, 109 catches, 1,204 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 rushes for 2 yards. Listen, I'm expecting massive season from Malik Neighbors because he's going to have the much better quarterback throwing to him than he had last year. And that's regardless of who's the quarterback, basically, for the Giants. Like that's how bad that group was. I feel like no matter what, we're going to get a better quarterback for the New York Giants to throw to Malik Neighbors. And again, 1,200 yards with that trio of Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, and Tommy DeVito. There is absolutely no reason this kid could not do 1,500 yards based on what you saw last year with him with inferior quarterback play and battling injuries. Now, again, he's got to not battle the injuries again to get that kind of numbers. It's not, a given. We haven't seen him stay healthy yet for a complete season because he only had the one. But if he can stay healthy the whole season and he can get better quarterback play, which again should be very easy to do with that quarterback room, this guy could literally be a 1,500-yard guy all day long. Then you got Wan'Dale Robinson, a guy that Rob and I said to you guys before the show started. Before the season started last year, that he could be a 100-catch guy. 93 catches where he ended up at. 699 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 rushes for 18 yards. And we talked about it. He had the second lowest depth of target in the entire NFL, guys. So when you see that 93 catches and just shy of 700 yards, that's why. Because they're throwing the ball 3 yards down the field. It's kind of hard to do much beyond that there. And it's also hard to move the yards down there like that. It's just not a good winning football strategy, especially when the quarterback like Daniel Jones that had trouble hitting people in stride. Again, I'm trying to kick the guy when he's down. He's a Colt now. Wish him the best, but that's the honest truth of the matter. I still think, again, with a great quarterback, Wan'Dale Robinson's going to have a much better season. Then you got Darius Slayton, who is the speedster, obviously 16 games last year, 39 catches, 573 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushes for 17 yards. That's actually a down year for him, guys. Usually he's a 700-yard guy all year long, Obviously, a lot of his targets got taken away because Malik Neighbors became such a concentration of the offense there. But that's a good 3 receiver set there with those 3. Now, I will say that Darius Slayton might be replaced, as Deb also points out here, that she said she'd still like to see us pick up Gabe Davis, and I'm 100% there with you, Deb. I still hope that Gabe Davis is going to be a Giant. He's going to be wide receiver 3 or 4. He'll probably battle it out there with Darius Slayton, to be honest with you. But Darius Slayton just got paid, and I don't think Gabe Davis is going to get paid like Darius Slayton did. So Slayton would definitely have the upper hand. That he knows the offense, but he'd be a nice addition to that room there. Number 2, and this was a close one, guys, honestly. And it's kind of like, do you go with potential or do you go with what they did last year? And I decided to go with what they did last year. CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys there. 15 games, 101 catches, 1,194 yards, 6 touchdowns, 14 rushes for 70 yards. Listen, CeeDee Lamb is as good a receiver in this group as you're going to find. The only guy that I think is potentially better than him is Malik Neighbors. And I say potentially because CeeDee Lamb's done it for some years now, guys. He's got to be considered the best wide receiver in this division right now. I think it's probably Lamb, Neighbors, Brown right now. And then Scary Terry number 4. That's where I'd put him right now. But Neighbors has that potential to beat him out for that top spot there. But in the meantime, I said great player overall. Then you got George Pickens that the Cowboys just traded for recently. 14 games last year, 59 catches, 900 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 rushes for -6 yards. But again, a player that has a ton of potential and a ton of, ability physically, just by all accounts, is kind of a little bit of a head case. I mean, let's be honest. The Steelers have their way of getting head case wide receivers and getting rid of them right as they're about to implode. And this is part of where that conversation goes of, are you picking based on what you think is going to happen this year, or do you pick on what they did last year? Pickens had a much better year last year than Wan'Dale Robinson. Let's be very frank on that. But I don't think the separation between the two is as much as people are thinking, because I think Pickens is his own worst nightmare. And I think not having a strong coach like Mike Tomlin to keep him in check is going to potentially be an issue. Then you throw in the fact that Robinson's going to have a better quarterback. And like I said, I just don't think there. But that's where I think there. And then you got Jalen Tolbert last year, 17 games, 49 catches, 610 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Probably the best third receiver on this bunch here, just based on what he's done there. But again, the huge difference in that wide receiver room just by adding George Pickens that they added there last week, I think. Good pickups and potentially, if he can pan out. I just think he's going to implode, guys. I really do. I think this is going to be like a soap opera for the Cowboys. And I just don't get why. And I see JSE in the comments section, so I don't get it. If Pickens could just shut the F up, he'd be a $35 million per year talent. Yeah, it's 100%. He's got, and again, I don't want to blame everything on this. And again, I don't know these guys personally, guys. I try not to be that guy that I know, Jay likes to say I name drop and stuff like that. I don't know George Pickens personally. I don't know him. I feel like there's got to be something going on mental health wise there. There's really got to be, just by some of the stuff he does, says, acts that you hear about. But again, I don't know him personally, so it's hard for me to say 100%. So, I hope if that's the case, he gets the help he needs, because he's a great talent. He's fun to watch. I'm not going to enjoy watching him as long as he's a Cowboy anymore, obviously, but, for his own benefit, he needs to figure out what he needs to do to straighten out his act, that's for sure, because it's going to cost him a whole lot of money when stuff happens, that's for sure. So that leaves us number 1, obviously, with the Eagles. And honestly, it wasn't a running away with it kind of win for them in this category. That's because of the third spot. But you got A.J. Brown, 13 games last year, 67 catches, 1,079 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Devontae Smith had, in 13 games, had 68 catches, 833 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 1 rush for yard. And then Johan Dotson, 6 games last year, 19 catches, 216 yards, 1 rush for 13 yards. I'm not a big Dotson fan. Now, I'll say this: he did look very good in the limited time you saw him there with the, with the Eagles as a third receiver. I mean, he would have done about 550 yards, in a full season. That's not bad as a third receiver when you got 2 potential 1,000-yard receivers in front of you. It's really not bad at all. I'm just not a big fan. That's I think was my issue as far as saying that the Eagles run away with this category here overall. But they will take the win. Then you go to the backups there. Again, we did based on the top 3 reserve wide receivers based on ESPN's depth charts. Because, again, the teams themselves don't have one yet. The Giants lost this one, guys, bad. Let me be very frank. And this is why we were talking a minute ago with Deb's comment about Gabe Davis. They need Gabe Davis. They need a legit wide receiver here. If you look at that back, end of the wide receiver depth right now, if you go on to, again, ESPN depth charts, I try to keep it legit. Like, here's what they had, regardless of what I think it's going to end up being. This is what they got. Jalen Hyatt, Zach Pascal, and Amir Smith-Marset. Smith Marset hasn't caught a ball in years. He's a punt returner. That's what he is. Zach Pascal hasn't done much at all. Hasn't really been much of a receiver the last couple of years. And Jalen Hyatt has been a bust. Our wide receiver depth, guys, is bad. Really good top 3. It's bad after that. They got to really be looking to see about getting Gabe Davis here. They need to be looking about scouring the waiver wires as people get cut at the end of training camp and all. This is not a good group for us. Not a good group at all. Number 2. There, I should have been 3, sorry, is the Eagles. Of Johnny Wilson, Terrence Marshall, and Anais Smith. Now, again, this is a group that, quite frankly, doesn't care too much because they have 2 really good receivers that if one gets injured, they still have the other one to be the number 1 receiver, and it's not that big of an issue to them. It's not one of their things they had to make sure they had depth on. They were more about adding depth to their, the line, it's controlling the line of scrimmage, which is more important, guys, point blank. But that's still a pretty weak backup, wide receiver room there for them. Then you got number 2 would be the Cowboys with Cavante Turbin, Jonathan Mingo. I don't know if John's watching, but that's his favorite player. Remember, it's Mingo, and Jalen Brooks. Again, it's some guys that have shown you some stuff there in the NFL. They're not necessarily starters, but they've at least shown you some ability to catch the ball, as legitimate wide receiver options in the NFL. He had 420 yards at a Turpin last year. That's not horrible. Again, Mingo hasn't exactly been the best player in the NFL yet, but we saw ability. He does have abilities. He had 167 yards only with the Panthers last year, but quite frankly, he's another guy who needs to get his head on straight, that's for sure, because he's going to be out of the league here pretty soon if he doesn't wise up. But if he wises up and gets the right coaching, he can go ahead and actually be a decent player for some years there, a decent depth piece at wide receiver. Again, I don't have a lot of faith in the Cowboys, coachings, so I'm not so sure that's ever going to happen there. But like I said, on paper at least, it's not a horrendous, reserve wide receiver room, mostly because of Turpin. Then you got number 1 is going to be the Commanders, who actually do have some decent depth at the wide receiver position with Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, and Michael Gallup. Obviously, Gallup's kind of the old man of that trio there. Luke McCaffrey's second year, Lane's a rookie. So you got some really young talent there, along with the one really veteran guy there. All 3 of those guys, though, are legitimately going to see the field this year. That's a decent backup wide receiver room. So overall rankings, that puts the Eagles at 10, the Cowboys at 9, the Commanders at 6, and the Giants in the rear at 5 because of how bad the backup wide receiver room is there. All right. 2 more groups to go here, guys. We got the tight ends. So the tight ends, again, not a bad group of players here. Number 4, though, is going to be the Giants as far as starters go. Theo Johnson, again, I think he's got a lot of potential, but it's a really good group of tight ends here. In 12 games, 29 catches, 331 yards, and a touchdown. Number 3 goes to the Cowboys with Jake Ferguson. In 14 games, 59 catches, 494 yards. So a couple of decent, actual young tight ends to start this off there. But the next 2 they're just better, at least for now. The number 2 goes to the Commanders with Zach Ertz, 66 catches, 654 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Consummate pro. The guy's been playing, it seems like, for 30 years now. Just still continues to get it done. Again, may not be the player he was years ago with the Eagles there, but he's still a hell of a good player there. And number 1 does go to Dallas Goedert, who is, listen, if it wasn't for the injuries, I feel like he'd be a guy that'd be like a household name at the tight end position. That's his biggest issue. Is just he can't stay healthy. If you never stay healthy and put together, a legit healthy season, especially with the last year, had been great for him with the injuries to A.J. Brown and Smith there to go ahead and have a chance to actually be more of the offense there. But in 10 games, 42 catches, 496 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So not a lot of trips to the end zone there, but like I said, if you do the math, that's 50 yards a game. That would put him at, a decent season there if he wasn't for the injuries there that cost him 7 of the 17 games there at that point. That's pretty damn good. On the backups, get a little bit of reversals there to a certain degree there in some of these. The Commanders actually are pulling up the rear, 4th place with John Bates and Benson Knott, who was second-year tight end. People had a lot of hope here. He was one of those mid-round gems to some people in the draft there last year. But he's mostly a blocking tight end. Didn't see a lot of the field this past year. I'm not saying that people should give up on him yet there, but wasn't a great start to his career, that's for sure. Number 3 is the Cowboys with Luke Schoonmaker and Brevin Spann-Ford. A couple of decent tight ends, nothing too flashy, nothing too crazy there. The Giants I'm giving them number 2. Daniel Bellinger, who I still think is underrated. I'm still trying to figure out why he doesn't see the field more often the last couple of years. And Chris Manhertz, who is just a blocking machine, like a third tackle, basically. Been doing that for a lot of years now. He's, 32, 33? I don't have it in front of me exact, but he's been doing this now for a decade. Just a consistent, great blocking tight end that always finds a job, because that's a key position in the NFL nowadays. The Eagles will take it number 1, though. With Grant Calcaterra and Kalen Granson being the tight end backups there for the Eagles. Grant's basically a starter. He starts a lot of the times on that first play of the games there, but we're only giving 1 starting tight end, obviously, in this exercise here. So Eagles will definitely crush this round. 12 points for them. Commanders get 7. Giants and Cowboys pulling up the rear at 6, because quite frankly, I said it's a tough group, guys. It really is a tough group starting wide. It's funny, you don't even hear that much about the tight ends in the NFC East, but that's a decent group. It really is. Let's go to what's been our Achilles heel here, Phil. It seems like forever now, and that's the offensive line. Let's be honest, the Giants have had not good success with their offensive line overall as a whole. Now, this group here, heads up, we're doing this a little different than we're doing the rest of it. There's a ton of backup offensive linemen. There's going to be a ton of movement on rosters. It is basically almost impossible to figure out exactly who's going to be backup offensive linemen this early in the game in the season there. So we're doing this purely off starters, projected starters, I should say, as well as that. Number 4 is going to have to be the Giants. Still, number 4, bringing up the rear in this division here. Now, that's mostly because of one person here, and I shouldn't say it that way, but it's mostly because of fears about one person here specifically, and that's Andrew Thomas, who, quite frankly, is coming from a bigger injury than I think people realize. He is a guy that when he went down last year, you saw this entire offensive line fall apart. Now, if Andrew Thomas can be healthy, this offensive line could be a whole lot better. A whole lot better, because he is one of the best left tackles in all of football when healthy. It's a huge difference when he's there. But if he's not, we have some people that actually can play tackle. We're not trying to force guards to play tackle this year if that happens, but they're nowhere near the player that Andrew Thomas is. Absolutely amazing player. Left guard, you got John Runyon Jr., who, let's say, he didn't have the best first year with the Giants here. Now, he was battling injuries. He is the guy that consistently throughout his career has battled injury and played through them. I'm willing to give him, I won't say a full-on pass, but I'm willing to say that he's a guy that very well could be much better this year. That's a good thing to say, but you can't guarantee it. Let's be honest. There's a reason the Packers let him go. It's not just because of money. It's because he wasn't a very good very good run blocker, But like I said, that's where there's a good chance for improvement there potentially. At center, John Michael Schmitz who obviously is a huge disappointment so far, but he's also been battling injuries left and right. Let's be honest here. If things don't go well for him, this is probably his last year as the guaranteed starter at the center position. And like I said, such high hopes they had for him coming out. Been a really absolute flop, though. At right guard, Greg Van Roden, who was a nice surprise, a late signing last year that really stepped in and did very good at right guard. He got a lot of praise. He was the only guy to literally play every single snap. That's how consistent he was compared to everybody else there. But again, he's not a light the world on fire kind of player. He just played solid as a right guard last year. And then at right tackle, Jermaine Illuminor. That besides the embarrassing comments he said after the Steelers game, that's the one issue I had with him last year. Really had a great first year with the Giants, I thought. He had a great time, especially at right side. It was a little bit worse, obviously, when he went to the left, but that's to be normal at that point. He hadn't played left tackle in forever, and obviously he's nowhere near the player that Andrew Thomas is. But him moving over to that left side was a big help to this line overall, because you all saw what happened prior to that. We had like 3 or 4 people there, and they all sucked. Like I said, a good solid right tackle there. Again, not going to light the world on fire, but a good solid right tackle there. So, and it's sad when it's like you got really amazing player, you can't guarantee he's going to be healthy. Left guard, you got to hope is healthy and improves because of that. Center, that's got to hope is going to be healthy and improves. And then just 2 guys that are solid. Not a good offensive line, guys, still. Let's be very frank on that. Now, if they're all healthy, they could be potentially an average offensive line. And that's what they were last year before the Andrew Thomas injury. So I got to really hope that's what happens there. Number 3 would be the Commanders, who, quite frankly, the Giants would probably be beating the Commanders if it wasn't for the offseason moves they've made. Laramie Tunsil got traded for, one of the best left tackles in all of football. If he is healthy and fits into that, that offense as I expect him to, that's a huge addition, guys. And that's the time to do when you got a young quarterback who is cheap-ish, I should say, because of the fact that he's got the rookie deal. Go make your big splash move on a guy who's, again, one of the best left tackles in all of football. But do keep in mind he's had injuries 2 of the last 4 seasons there. So, again, he's got a little bit of injury concerns as well. Nick Allegretti, the former chief at left guard, against good solid player there. Tyler Biotish, the former Cowboy at center, who's also been a pretty solid player as well. Again, not light the world on fire, but a decent player. And then you got Sam Cosme, the right guard, who was never been a big fan of. He's just not a good player, guys. But not the worst player in the world, that's for sure. And then right tackle, Josh Connerly Jr., the rookie first-round pick they got there, who I think was drafted early, but I think is a decent player overall. So definitely the 2 tackles they've added made this a much better offensive line than it would have been without. And that's why they end up getting 3 instead of being stuck at the bottom of number 4 there. Obviously, the Commanders are making sure they go ahead and protect their quarterback, because he's, to be honest, he's like 160 pounds soaking wet, guys. So, and I think you're going to look at potential for a much better improved offensive line from the Commanders. By the way, Reckless Figs, whoever the hell you are, dude. No, this is not pre-recorded. Show some damn respect. Anyway, number 2, Cowboys. And basically the whole entire line of Tylers, basically. You got Tyler Guyton at left tackle, Tyler Smith now left guard. You got Cooper Bebe at the center position, Tyler Booker at right guard, and Terrence Steele at the right tackle position. So, you do look at again, not an amazing offensive line. It's a very young offensive line. There's a lot of talent in there. There is definitely some level of me thinking there's going to be some gelling of a lot of young players this year with that offensive line. But there's just so much talent. It's hard to not think this is going to be a decent offensive line here. And like I said, there's definitely some question marks, but a whole lot of talent here on that coming out of college. And all these guys are young. All these guys are very, very young. So, there's a lot of projection on that number 2. Very easily could drop down a couple of pegs if they don't gel together the way I think they're going to gel together for the Cowboys. As much as I hate to give the Cowboys prop. Let's see here. Reckless Fixes, can't hear you. Lombardi Trophy blocking. No, you know why you can't hear me? Because I just banned you. Deal. So, yeah. Anyway, so Eagles have Jordan Mailata at the left tackle, Landon Dickerson at the left guard, Cam Jurgens at center, Tyler Steen at right guard, and Lane Johnson at the right tackle position. So obviously, listen, it's been a great part of the the Eagles for a long time, their offensive line, and point blank, they have the best by far in the NFC East. There, it's really what makes that team so good. It really is. And again, we're not doing backups with the offensive line, so we're point blank just going to kind of triple the scores there for the offensive line starters. The Eagles end up with 12, Cowboys with 9, Commanders with 6, and the Giants end up with 3. So, guys, that brings the total offense scores here for us. With Eagles get 53, Commanders 39, Cowboys 32, and the Giants with 29. So, guys, we're still in the tail end here. Still a long way to go. Giants really are on an uphill battle getting this offense going here, but we'll see what they can do this year. Is that definitely potential to move up, but they're going to need a lot of things to go right for that to happen. So, all righty, guys, we're going to come back again on Wednesday, looking at the defense and going ahead and getting that rolling there with you guys, giving the position groups there. That should be a whole lot better for the Giants. Let's be honest. Our defense should be a whole lot better. So we'll be back again Wednesday. Appreciate you guys for watching, listening as always. As always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/Twitch, X, and of course, Rod's favorite, my LinkedIn profile. As always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms, well, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all the big ones there. So, again, guys, we'll be back again Wednesday for you. As always, we are live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Appreciate you guys for watching, as always. And as always, Giants fans, go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.